walked around Andrew Cassius most was still asleep. The only one she saw moving at all was the men and women in the watch. She put her hand on the stomach when it rumbled 2 in the morning with not normal time for the young woman to find herself awake without knowing how to get back to sleep. Her mind was unsure of what she would do about how her father was trying to force her to get away from one of the other clans. She sighed gently and rubbed her face while walking. The young drinker swirled looked around when her stomach growled once more. Let's find food, she said, looking around the spot in the personal tent at the edge of town. Slowly the woman made her way to the tent and peered in, hearing the sounds of women lifting within, sleeping soundly. The young woman sneaked in the tent, forcing her breathing to stay slow and steady enough to wake the men of the powder pills. At first, Jasmine slowly made her way to where the food was and found some dried meat. The young woman froze when she heard ship just a few feet from her. Once the shipping stopped, the girl took no chances and quickly left the tent, running from the area. Panic from the run with the thin air not open to catch her breath. The drinker slowly stopped and looked back towards the tent. At least the man hadn't awakened. Jasmine said, taking quick breaths, still trying to catch her breath. After some time, Jasmine resumed the walking and ate the meal she had taken. The young woman took a deep breath and tried to get some rabbit and drying out the meat to replace what she had stolen, jerking the wavy tresses of her blonde hair. She the grill pushed the thought out of her head, knowing that she didn't have the skills of the hunter yet, at least not without much more practice. Bam! Asmir was sleeping like the dead. It had been a rough start to the season, and he was happily dreaming of running down deer from the back of a strider. Cold Grizz wasn't going to let him disturb the hunt, letting the hunt to be disturbed. Banana. At least not the brief one caused by his chin flap flipping to the side to allow a guest into his pavilion. Yeah. He stirred a bit against the recent disturbance, but he didn't wake. Before long, he went back to the chase, riding and shooting. Whoop-pew! Whoop-pew! Pew! Before long, he had dropped half the herd. Oh, it's a deer genocide! As the ride continued, Asmir found himself faltering in his time with his horse, then suddenly he fell into an ice-cold stream. Whoop-hap! Asmir sat up in his tent. His eyes darted around, but in the black he couldn't see anything. The tiniest sliver of light shone through the flap of his personal pavilion. This wasn't normal. There was a simple tie that Asmir religiously looped to prevent his space from being invaded by the weather. Wow. Now that he was awake, Drekus moved around his humble living space to check for certain items. His clothes and packs seemed undisturbed. His weapons were all in the same place that he had left them. Asmir was about to go back to sleep when he decided to check his rucksack again. He always kept a bit of food on top in case he needed it for quick access. He ground a deep noise that started in his chest and reverberated through his throat. Exactly like that. He began to get dressed, pulling up on his boots, the wool shirt, and then the process of buckling his belt and adding his gear. He propped himself up on his knees and started to rise, having down his cloak. Pow! Cloak and quiver! But stopped. He had a new skill. I needed to learn how to use it. As Mir left down on his bedding, he closed his eyes and laid the hog across his legs. He allowed his hands to rub the smooth wood of the handle for a tick, and then he went still. His heartbeat became regular, and his nerves, previously on end due to being robbed, had cooled. He focused on the world before him while he maintained the same breathing that he used for shooting his bow. The multicolored eyes opened to see the silver sliver. The cold air tempered his urge to get up and run blindly into the night after the thief. Instead, he rose with purpose, but a graceful ease as well. The bowman stepped into the night and split his bow over his head and shoulder. It nestled perfectly around his muscles and never seemed to hinder his ability to ride or run. As Mir walked through the sight and found Hephaestion pressed between two mares. As Mir patted his chest with his palm, and the animal stared at the mares. They knew he was there, but had gotten used to his scent. The man used gentle coaxing of his hands to brush the mares along, then settled the Evos on the back of his strider. Gesmir mounted and gazed about. There were many waves of color and broken fragments around the city's edge. Deciphering them was going to take some work. The watchman started his trace from the entrance to his tent, leading the horse over near it. He ran down and used the light of wet space to study the impressions in the frost-colored ground. His big boot print was obvious, but there was also a smaller one heading north. As Mir sat up in the Evos and gazed in that direction, there were several more ribbons of Jed dangling a few hundred yards out. Using the soft squeeze of his legs, as Mir urged the strider into motion. As Mir rolled his head about, stretching his neck. The cold did not allow his aging body to awaken as fast as his mind. Upon arriving at the area where several paths crossed, Asmir dismounted and carefully moved over the sunset of Seminary skin in search of a hint to match the one he found outside his tent. There seemed to be none present. Asmir grumbled, but knew the torch would ruin his eyes' adjustment to the night, which could be vital. The man was about to give up when a tiny dark spot mixed the frosted tipped grass caught his eye just below a trail of jet or several of his prints. They were closer together. The child must be walking at this point. The man remounted his stallion and studied the jet way for a moment. He looked towards the direction it pointed and saw a few more patches. In a whisper he spoke to the night. "I'll find you, you